Every growing season, we see some things out in our fields that we don't regard as being normal place, and this year has certainly been no exception to that. Whether it's been some of the growth characteristics that we've seen with our plants, some of the insects that we've seen earlier than normal, or just the weather pattern itself, this year has thrown some curveballs at us that we weren't anticipating as we went through the winter planting stages. One of the things that really has caught my attention this growing season has been the onset of the suckers that we see in our cornfields. And I want to spend a few minutes talking about that today because I think there's some lessons that we can learn, and it's not the normal suckers and the normal conditions that accompany them that we have thus far in our growing season. I'm Keith Byerly, Precision Ag Manager at Central Valley Ag, and this is your agronomy focus video that corresponds with my article on the CVA blog site. Now, normally when we talk about suckers, we think of them in a negative light. Suckers are usually a symptom of having an excess of something in the plant's cycle or the plant's life or the plant's needs at a time when it doesn't need it. When we see those suckers on the plant, we usually talk about nitrogen being excessive at a point in time when the plant can't use it, and the plant trying to find somewhere to put that nitrogen so that it doesn't go away in the soil or it doesn't go away in the atmosphere. These plants are far smarter than we give them credit for and really do a fantastic job of utilizing or at least storing those things when they're present so that they can use them at a later date. But this year, these suckers that we're seeing aren't a symptom of excessive nutrients. They're a symptom of excessive energy, and that energy coming from the heat and the light that we've had so far this growing season. If I look at growing degree days that we've accumulated this year, and I make a line in the sand and I say that May 10th is my line. If I look at May 10th and backwards and crops that were planted at that date and time, we're seeing most of our area have 20 to 30% more growing degree days accumulated than the 30-year average would be. If I look at a later planted crop, it's the same story, just not quite to the same extreme. What that means is that these small plants have had a lot of opportunity to convert sunlight into sugars, and they needed to do something with that. Now, for some hybrids, that means an elongation of the leaves and getting really long, skinny leaves like we'd be used to seeing in the month of June or even into July. For other hybrids like the one that I'm in today, what that means is that it puts a lot of suckers on, and we see a lot of single and double suckers that are nearly as big as the plant itself. Now, we would typically, again, think of that being a nitrogen thing, but when these suckers set on, the plant was still living on that seed and it didn't have enough roots developed under it to be finding an excessive amount of nitrogen that led to it. So we know that it's a sunlight thing, and we know it's an energy thing that we see out in our fields. So the take home for today is, don't get upset with the fact that you're seeing suckers out in these fields. It's actually, I think, a good thing in the long run. Those suckers are going to be melted away and turned back into energy as this corn tassels and it sets those ears on, and it determines a lot of things about our kernels and the weight this crop has and ultimately the yield that we see out there for the year. So, are these suckers going to mean that this crop takes a little bit more water? Probably, yeah. But the energy that's stored should more than make up for the cost of that. Are these going to take a little bit more nitrogen or things like that? No. We should be at a pretty neutral standpoint on this. I think ultimately what the lesson from these suckers will be that we can take home for this year is that when we get to harvest time this October and November, we're going to see some things on our yield monitor and our combine that make us smile because these plants converted sunlight to energy and we got to use that energy at other parts of the year.